China's unemployed population reaches 400 million. Ministry of State Security and Xi sing a different tune, issuing video warning against foreign enterprises. Expert, century-old storm, Chinese economy faces 5 major challenges. Controversy arises as Beijing charity donates millions to Chinese government for construction. Rising tide of political indoctrination in Chinese education draws parallels to Cultural Revolution. Film on land reform ordered by CCP to be withdrawn overseas, director refuses. It's all covered in today's China Truths. China's unemployed population reaches 400 million. Chinese veteran journalist Kai Shenkuan, who resides in the United States, stated in the NTD-TV's Elite Forum program that the Chinese Communist Party National Bureau of Statistics released economic data for the first 2 months of this year in March, which are not credible. For instance, the National Bureau of Statistics boasted that fixed asset investment in January and February amounted to 5.1 trillion yuan, approximately $700 billion, a 4.2% increase compared to the previous year. However, if we look at the figures from the same period last year, fixed asset investment was 5.4 trillion yuan, approximately $740 billion, which indicates a clear decline of 5.1%, not an increase of 4.2%. Therefore, the discrepancy in the statistics released by the National Bureau of Statistics is significant. Another example involves real estate investment. The National Bureau of Statistics claimed that investment only decreased by 9%, but when we compare it with last year's figures, the actual decrease was 13.7%. Furthermore, regarding real estate sales data, the National Bureau of Statistics announced a 20.5% decrease, but compared to last year's data, the actual decline reached 29%. What do these data illustrate? It shows that the National Bureau of Statistics is entirely following the tone of the CCP's fanciful economic propaganda, rather than presenting true data based on facts. The figures released by the Ministry of Finance are also intriguing. The personal income tax for January and February announced by the Ministry of Finance was 326.2 billion yuan, around $45.2 billion, a 15.9% decrease compared to the same period last year. We shouldn't underestimate this 15.9% decline. It signifies a significant drop in personal income. Because in China, personal income tax cannot be evaded, it is deducted when salaries are paid, regardless of the size of the company. Think about it, with such a substantial drop in personal income tax in January and February, if people's income hasn't increased, how could consumption possibly increase? How can the total retail sales of goods increase? The State Council's government work report mentioned that this year, the issue of employment for 12 million people needs to be addressed. However, last year, the actual unemployment rate for young people in China reached around 50%. In fact, there are currently tens of millions of people in China who are completely unemployed. Therefore, as former mayor of Chongqing Huang Qifan mentioned not long ago, what China urgently needs to address in terms of employment is actually to solve the employment of at least 400 million people. Even if you add 12 million newly solved employment positions this year, it is entirely insufficient to solve the current unemployment problem. Finding a job is extremely difficult now. Kai said he has a relative who graduated from New York University as a postgraduate student. He returned last year, and until now, he has not been able to find a basic job. According to past practice, a postgraduate student from New York University returning to China, no matter how poor, could still find an ordinary job, but now they can't find one. The employment situation has become a major problem. Ministry of State Security and Xi sing a different tune, issuing video warning against foreign enterprises. CCP leader Xi Jinping just recently extended a friendly gesture towards foreign enterprises on March 27, demonstrating an open attitude and claiming that reform will not stop. The next day, March 28, the Ministry of State Security of the Chinese Communist Party issued a short film, cautioning Chinese citizens to be wary of overseas consulting firms. The short film, approximately 8 minutes and 22 seconds long, titled Beware. Secret Investigations Conceal National Security Risks, was released by the Ministry of State Security's WeChat public account. The video urges Chinese citizens to be vigilant against overseas espionage intelligence agencies using investigative consulting activities as a cover to steal sensitive information in key areas of China. Commentators suggest that the Chinese Communist Party's dual approach of appearing friendly to foreign enterprises while simultaneously exerting pressure may accelerate the departure of foreign enterprises from China. Expert, century-old storm, Chinese economy faces 5 major challenges. Ray Dalio, the founder of the American hedge fund Bridgewater Associates, stated that the CCP is facing a storm that occurs once in a century, and the Chinese economy has at least 5 serious challenges to confront. In a lengthy article published on LinkedIn on Wednesday, March 27, Dalio mentioned that the CCP is facing a once-in-a-century storm and urgently needs to solve its debt problem, otherwise, it might experience a lost decade similar to Japan's economic stagnation in the 1990s. He outlined 5 major challenges that the Chinese economy is facing, which are debt burden and an aging population, wealth disparity and political climate, Sino-US geopolitical conflict, natural disasters, and CCP leadership. Dalio urged the CCP's leadership to alleviate China's debt burden while also loosening monetary policy. He wrote, "In my opinion, this should have been done 2 years ago, and if left unresolved, it might lead China into a lost decade." Dalio has a long history of interaction with senior CCP officials. For many years, he has been warning about the risks of conflict between the US and China. Following the publication of his article, Chinese netizens commented that Dalio's books might soon be banned in China and that he himself might fall out of favor with the CCP leadership. Dalio mentioned that he has a different understanding of the international order's great changes unseen in a century as proclaimed by the CCP leadership. He wrote, "The likelihood of a century storm for the CCP increases when there is a large amount of debt and significant wealth disparity, along with huge domestic and international power conflicts, destructive changes, and major technological shifts." He added that the tension between China and the US is leading foreign investors to shift supply chains or seek diversification due to fears of discrimination, or even leave China, which is causing difficulties for China in attracting foreign investment. If economic and cultural conflicts are not reconciled, there's a high possibility of a devastating war in the next decade. Controversy arises as Beijing charity donates millions to Chinese government for construction. Recently, the Beijing Hemophilia Home Rare Disease Care Center made headlines by announcing a substantial donation of 1.1 million yuan to the Chinese Communist Party for construction purposes. This move has raised eyebrows among analysts, who view it as highly irregular. The Beijing Hemophilia Home, founded in 2000 by hemophilia patients, is a charitable organization that supports patients and promotes awareness about the disease. It officially registered with the Beijing Civil Affairs Bureau in February 2012. However, its decision to donate 1 million yuan to the People's Republic of China for national construction and an additional 100,000 yuan to the city of Beijing has led to a backlash, with netizens questioning why a government would receive money from a charity rather than the other way around. Some online comments sarcastically suggest that the state must have contracted a rare disease, while others speculate that the CCP is finding new ways to extract money, implying that other organizations might also be pressured to donate. Wu Xiaoping, a Chinese human rights lawyer based in the US, has labeled the donation as absurd and illegal from a legal standpoint. He argues that government departments should not be recipients of charitable donations, a stance that is consistent with international norms and China's own charity law. Furthermore, Wu Xiaoping points out that the charity's act of deleting the donation announcements after public scrutiny is also a violation of the law, which requires transparency about where donations are directed. There is speculation that the Beijing Hemophilia Home might have been instructed or coerced by the CCP to make the donation. Yu Luowan, a Chinese historian and writer in the US, suggests that the charity's leaders, likely government employees, wouldn't dare to make such a decision without government endorsement, given the legal risks and potential backlash from donors. Jie Lijian, vice chairman of the China Democracy Party, echoes the sentiment that the charity's funds are meant for patient aid and should not be diverted to the government. He suggests that the government may have used judicial means to force the donation, with the implicit threat of dissolving the organization or restricting personal freedoms otherwise. The Beijing Hemophilia Homes audit report from 2019 shows that it operates almost entirely on donations, with no government subsidies, which raises the question of why such a charity would donate to the government. Jia Lijian highlights the public's distrust in government-run charities, referencing past incidents where donations did not reach the intended beneficiaries. Experts suggest that the charity's decision may be indicative of broader issues within China's charitable sector, where government interference and lack of trust in official channels lead to donations being diverted away from their intended beneficiaries. This situation follows a series of scandals involving CCP-affiliated charities, such as the Guamimi incident in 2011 that damaged the Red Cross's reputation, and incidents in 2020 where charitable funds were mismanaged, further eroding public trust in these organizations. Overall, this case raises serious questions about the independence of charitable organizations in China and underscores the importance of transparency and accountability in the management of donated funds. Further investigation and public scrutiny are necessary to ensure that charitable donations are used effectively to support those in need. Rising tide of political indoctrination in Chinese education draws parallels to Cultural Revolution. The song "The East is Red," once a tribute to Mao Zedong, is now being sung with a new focus, Xi Jinping. This reflects a growing trend of personal worship towards Xi in Chinese schools, reminiscent of the Cultural Revolution era. In a middle school in Hebei province, students are enthusiastically performing songs about Xi Jinping, leading to online comments questioning the purpose of learning foreign languages in a school environment that seems to promote political indoctrination. This isn't an isolated incident. Nationwide, Chinese schools are teaching the first lesson of the year with a strong emphasis on patriotism, using red, communist-themed textbooks that encourage disdain for imperialism and glorify sacrifice for the country. These teachings are consistent across the country, and students also watch government-approved patriotic media. Some parents are concerned about the negative effects of this intense indoctrination. They worry it will make children resistant to a more open, global society. While some parents try to counteract this at home, many others accept the situation, even taking pride in their children's performances. A disturbing example is a primary school song that includes aggressive lyrics and motions, which is celebrated in social media comments. This kind of education instills a sense of hostility and conflict in children. The Netflix series The Three-Body Problem has a scene depicting the Cultural Revolution that has shocked Chinese viewers. Despite this, education that encourages children to denounce relatives and friends continues, reminiscent of the Cultural Revolution's divisive tactics. An animated film in China depicted a young boy, Yang Yang, whose father nearly becomes a spy due to foreign enticement. The film ends with a message encouraging reporting on suspicious activities for lenient treatment by authorities. Online viewers have criticized the film for promoting paranoia and for being a form of modern indoctrination. Moreover, recent anti-spy campaigns are pervasive on Chinese social media, promoting vigilance against espionage. China's updated anti-espionage law advises children to be vigilant, even toward their own family members, and to report any suspicious behavior. Parents are worried that this could lead to a breakdown in trust and a return to the mindset of the Cultural Revolution. Film on land reform ordered by CCP to be withdrawn overseas, director refuses. Above the Dust, a film that deals with the impact of the 1950s land reforms in China on a landlord's family, was recently screened at the Berlin International Film Festival. However, the Chinese government ordered the film to be withdrawn after its premiere, but the director Wang Xiaoshui is refusing to do so. The film is based on a short story called Grandpa's Tricks by Li Shijiang and follows a young boy, the descendant of a landlord's family. The story unfolds against the backdrop of 2009. As neighbors move to the city one after another, the boy's parents are still stuck in their impoverished homeland, digging everywhere in an obstinate attempt to find the family's treasures hidden before the so-called land reform. Through communication with his grandfather's ghost, the boy gradually understands the catastrophe faced by the landlord's family during the land reform of the 1950s and the disastrous history of the Great Leap Forward that followed. Land reform is a sensitive topic in China, with millions of landlords persecuted or killed, and their land confiscated by the government. Director Wang Xiaoshui had previously submitted Above the Dust for review by Chinese censors in October 2022. Despite making more than 50 cuts as requested over 15 months, the film was not approved for release in China. Consequently, Wang took a risk and sent the film to the Berlin Festival without approval from Chinese authorities. Following its showing on February 20th, Chinese censors contacted Wang and threatened serious repercussions if he did not withdraw the film. Wang's history with Chinese censors dates back to his first film, The Days, in 1993, and other works like Frozen, which were banned in China. Despite this, Wang has managed to continue his filmmaking career within China's restrictions and has gained a significant audience. His film So Long, My Son won awards at the Berlin Film Festival and in China in 2019. Above the Dust was meant to be the second part of his Homeland trilogy, but it has also been banned by Chinese authorities. Wang, who currently lives in London, UK, has expressed his frustration with the constant censorship, which he feels hinders creativity. After years of his work being banned, he has lost hope for the future of Chinese cinema, and this time he is determined to resist to the end. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.